When you choose a topic that you already know well, several things happen. First, you have a higher motivation to go out and do some extra research. Second, you're going to bring a higher level of enthusiasm to the presentation itself. Jonathan Bruce has done exactly that in his informative speech.
Please imagine with me for a moment. It's been a long time and you're back visiting with your grandma, and you haven't seen her for a while, and if you've spent any time in the Deep South, and if she lives there, kind of like I have, there's probably one smell you're first going to smell as soon as you walk inside the house, and it's going to be the smell of fresh biscuits or that good old Southern cornbread. So if she's still mixing up the batter while you walk in, she's probably got an old bowl that was maybe handed down from her grandmother, could have been in the family for 100 years or more. And throughout the centuries, wood bowls have been a very utilitarian piece. They've been used primarily in baking and cooking and other household utility reasons for using them. And just recently, they've been more introduced as an art form. And today, I'd like to introduce you to the art form of wood turning, wood bowls, etc. And more specifically, I'd like to introduce to you the piece aptly titled Ties to Our Past, a very large wood bowl that has some special significance. And by the end of my speech today, I hope that you'll realize that the form of art is something that is very broad and is only limited by your imagination and the creativity you have as you look at the world around you. And my research for this topic, I have done a significant wood turning myself, so I understand the basics of the art form and the process involved to create the products. And I also did research on a website devoted to the British Woodturners Association, and I also interviewed the artist who happens to be an old friend of mine from back in Georgia. So that was kind of how I introduced myself and got acquainted with the piece and some of the details.
It's a great idea to establish your credibility in as many ways as possible. Jonathan does it in several ways. He mentions his personal experience as a wood turner, he talks about his internet research, and he mentions the interview that he did with the artist.
And you may be thinking, okay, are you really going to take a glorified project from the Do-It-Yourself channel on TV and portray it as art? And I absolutely am. And by the end of my speech today, I think you'll realize why I consider it to be art, and many others in the industry do as well. And as I have alluded in my illustration, for millennia, bowls have been used in households and for normal everyday use. And probably within the past 50 years or so, wooden bowls and vessels, hollow forms, etc., have begun to really enter the art world as just incredible pieces of three-dimensional art. And it's just beginning. They're just scratching the surface. It's amazing what they're creating these days.
Use your introduction to fully prepare your listeners for the body of your speech. That means some introductions may take longer than others, as this one does.
And So today I'd like to go ahead and introduce to you the piece and the history involved with Ties to Our Past. That is David Hammond. He resides in Powder Springs, Georgia, about 30 miles northwest of Atlanta. And he's been a good friend of mine for a number of years. And that tree there is a 105-year-old American beech tree that, unfortunately, as sad as it is that it had to be felled, it was the property was going to be dozed and created into a new middle school and high school. So the tree would have been just chipped up and sent to the local Cobb County landfill. And so he and his uncle and family actually took it down on January 24th, 2004. They cut the tree down and same day got tractors and all and loaded it. They were immense logs and took it over to his property. And about, October 13th.
While you certainly want to include a lot of details in your speech, too many of them can overwhelm your audience. In this case, many of Jonathan's dates are important, but not all of them are.
He got his chainsaw out and dove into the bowl, cutting it into two pieces and roughed it out with the chainsaw to get it onto his lathe. That's about a $5,000 lathe that you can just barely see in the background there.
Audiences love visuals, and they're a great way to support your message. They're most effective when you interact with them, much like Jonathan does throughout this presentation.
And it allows you to turn immense pieces of wood like that. And on October 13th and 14th of 2004, he roughed out the bowl. And when you rough out a large green bowl like that, the wood is so wet that you have to create your wall thicknesses on a bowl like that. They need to be about 2.5 inches thick. And then you paint it with a liquid wax called Anchor Seal, and that keeps the moisture in the wood. It allows it to escape the wood at a slow rate. If it all escaped at once, the bowl would literally crack in half because of the stress created in the wood. So that liquid wax allowed the moisture to escape the wood over a slow period of time relatively.
That was a great explanation. Explanations are expanded definitions. They help your audience better understand your message.
It was an intermission of about 2 years from the time that he had the bowl completely roughed out and painted with the liquid wax till he actually put it back on the lathe and started returning it with his real sharp steel gouges. And on August 15th of 2006, he started the finish turning process. That took an extensive amount of time because, as you can see, he almost dwarfs, that bowl is just immensely sized. And so it just took days and days to finish turn it, and then the process of sanding it and getting it to the high quality that he needed it. Took about 25 coats of polyurethane to finish it out and then polishing it. It was on display in November of 2006 at the Art Station Big Shanty in Kennesaw, Georgia. And then he let it sit for about another year, and in that time period, he learned a new type of finishing with a special automotive-grade lacquer and then automotive polishing that just created an incredible finish. And so, let's see, August 28th, for about 1 month of this past year of 2007, he took about a whole month and resanded it, refinished it, probably put another couple hundred hours into it, creating a quality that was up to his very perfectionistic eye. And on October 5th, it was displayed at Gallery 4463 in Ackworth, Georgia. And again, the title is Ties to Our Past, illustrating the value of realizing 105 years of history in a tree. And if any of you all have an extra $38,500 burning a hole in your pocket, this piece could grace your living room or your entryway to your house or something, but it's just a gorgeous piece. He's in no hurry to sell it. He'd love to keep it around for 10 or 15 years, and maybe when he's a renowned wood turner, people would just crave a piece like that. Or you never know, somebody would just could fall in love with it and want it tomorrow. So he's in no hurry to move it along. So as I wrap things up,
there are many ways to take your audience from the body of your speech to the conclusion, but you don't always have to say, "in conclusion." Just use a phrase that's familiar and comfortable for you.
I hope I've been able to educate you all a little more about the general process of wood turning, why I consider it an art form, just the creativity that is required to see a piece of wood and see the natural beauty and quality in that wood and create something of lasting value out of it. And I hope you also realize that the spectrum of of art in general is just limited only by your creativity and the potential you can see in something. Thank you very much.